Hello, gorgeous Librans, and welcome to January 2021, a brand new year, a brand new solar journey since our solstice that kind of ended and began so many new cycles. And where are we now? To me, when I look at January's energy and I feel through where we are in January, it is a month of noticing. It is a month of getting still enough to really see where we have grown and changed into, because it's subtle in some ways. In some ways, we're just beginning the building. And for Librans, this is really interesting time, because the message that came up for me before we get into any of the astrology, any of the aspects, any of the cards, is that in this feeling of lightness and curiosity that you will start to notice burgeoning in January, what will you dream? What will you concoct? When I think about Libran energy, I think about all the work that was done in Capricorn, right? A fellow cardinal sign squaring off against you guys for the last little while, and especially this last year. And suddenly it's been released, and we are in a season where, yes, we're working through Capricorn for part of the month, but then we're moving into a Mercury moving into Aquarius, Mercury going retrograde in Aquarius. We have Saturn and Jupiter in Aquarius, and the Sun moving into Aquarius, all during the month of January. And that fellow air sign energy is bringing with it some curiosity, some lightness, some playfulness, some movement for air signs in general. This is so much more in flow with who you are. And so our collective energy is helping you as well to come more fully into, I think, the beautiful Libran gifts, which are connection and playfulness and the ability to kind of see and problem solve from spaces that aren't so focused on practical limitations, like physical limitations, or on a feeling of unworthiness, right? And to get into that air sign magic is so powerful. But like I said, we're just adjusting to a lot of this. January it's kind of like sometimes we have this expectation that we had the Great Conjunction in December, and we had, the beginning to a new year, and energy is no longer in Capricorn. And so we should just feel like revved up, full speed ahead kind of energy moving us through us, right? But this is a season of listening, right? And for those of us in the Northern Hemisphere, this is the heart of winter here in January, right? And if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, this is the heart of summer. And actually, I feel like this dense central part of a season is one of the most important times to reflect and listen that we have all year. Capricorn into Aquarius and Cancer into Leo are both really important listening times. So let's see what cards are coming out for you. I think this is an interesting month of shift as well for Librans. Mars is moving into Taurus after 6 months in Aries, in your opposing sign of Aries. Now it's moving into your 8th house of transformation. So Mars will be working there and will eventually be meeting up with Uranus. They're going to be having some talks. So this is a powerful month for a shift in flavor, a shift in focus for you all. It takes a lot of the pressure off cardinal signs. And I think it's important when you make such a big shift like that to take a moment to listen and to get a sense of the landscape around you. 7 of Pentacles. Yes, listening in. I love that card. For me, that's one of the most underrated meditative practices in life, is the checking in with what Ace of Swords, yes, there's that air energy of what you are sowing, what you are reaping, what you are putting your back-breaking work into, right? Like, is it really worth it? What's working? What's sucking your energy out, right? Such a great time to just listen into the ground. It reminds me of an animal coming out from their burrow and getting scanning the landscape, right? 6 of Cups. Okay, so I'm pulling 3 from my classic deck, and then I'm going to pull 1 from my Cosmic Tarot, which is just a really fun slightly different interpretation of our classic conversation to add as like the final note, the overarching theme note for the reading this month, for the beginning of 2021. I know a lot of us have big expectations of 2021. Princess of Cups. Big expectations for 2021, big expectations for beautiful things to happen. I think that's true. But I think it requires us using a lot of the skills we've used in the last year moving forward, right? So, like I said, I think starting January, you're going to notice this is a creative era for you. This is an era where it's not about squaring, it's about trine energy, so it's flow energy. And the pressure is no longer solely on cardinal signs like yourself. So there is a lifting, there is a lightness. And like when you've been lifting something like a bag with a certain amount of weight and then suddenly the weight is gone, you don't want to like throw yourself over, right? So the listening. We're going to start here with our 7 of Pentacles. Such an important one. Like I said, so underrated to just take a moment, right? We're so often, putting our soul and our thoughts into stuff day in, day out. And some of it we just don't need to take with us. And this is a process that started in December, but I think January is like part 2 of December. In some ways, it's like the second half of a transitional period. It's like the first half is all the noise and all the disruption, all the eclipses and all of that. And then the second part is the taking a moment and looking around at what's there now. What are you working with? And so the 7 of Pentacles speaks to that. Don't be in a rush to jump to conclusions, but also be really honest with yourself about what you're planting, right? Because here's the thing, you do have a new energetic era here in the wings. Ace of Swords brings that breath of fresh air. I always imagine a window opening, after like a stuffy day inside or something, that fresh, crisp air that blows in your face and kind of blows the cobwebs out of your mind. That's always what I think of with Ace of Swords. It's like a mental clarity, a mental knowing. Now, here's the thing I'm noticing here. When you start to pay attention, you can't escape the knowing, which is sometimes why we don't pay attention. Sometimes why we stay a little busy in our minds. We keep our minds on things that are a bit distracting, that maybe we don't have control over, or maybe that just keep us busy. Because we know that if we take 1 minute, not 1 minute, but a little bit of time to hear the process going on inside, we're going to know things we can't unknow. We're going to know about changes in ourselves, changes in what we want that we can't unknow. So that's the scary part of it. Here's the good news, though. This is about new opportunity. This is about possibilities opening, doors opening for you. And they do require a little work. They do require a little long-term investment. It may not, you're going to start to get that breath of fresh air, that insight, that creativity, that flow moving in January. But that it means that whatever it is that you are starting on, you're beginning that process. So enjoy that you're at the beginning of the process and don't feel that you need to have steps 10 through 20 done already. Be here with that Ace of Swords moment, right? Now here's what's interesting as well. When I think about all that energy moving off the cardinal signs, and I think about us moving into a new 20-year cycle with Jupiter and Saturn, moving into a really important new Saturn cycle, moving into a new Martian cycle, I think about, and a Mercury retrograde as well in Aquarius, and a fellow air sign that has to do with your heart center, Libran energy. There is some review going on, right? Like I said, January is another review session. This is a time to just, even though 6 of Cups is about looking behind you, this is also a time to kind of like find your peace with what that process has been for you, right? For me too, this card has value because it helps us to understand that some of the things in our past, in our emotive past, in our lives as we've lived them over the years, that we think of as weaknesses or as blank spots or as things that we have to kind of like push to the side, are actually part of what is going to make 2021 so meaningful and so great, right? So Six of Cups always asks us to find the deep value of our past intense emotional experiences, right? And how that shaped us, who that's made us. And that can range from beautiful things that have happened in the past to things that maybe were a little harrowing or exhausting. And that can even include things from 2020. I think so many of us coming into 2021, January is not the time to be kind of vindictive about 2020. It's a time to incorporate. It's a time to bring ourselves home with all of that. So, and that speaks true here with Princess of Cups as well. So here's what I'll say. It's really interesting. You only have one air sign card here, right? The Ace of Swords, which is like, yes, that trine is flowing. That Aquarian energy is going to serve you so well this year, especially Jupiter in Aquarius is just going to light up your creative heart core. It's such a fun, great energy for Librans. I'm so excited. My midheaven is in Libra, so I will be riding that kind of burst of creativity with you. And that's great. That lightness, that playness, that playful, airy energy is so good. But the other three cards in this reading are earth and water, and there's a dominance of water here. So it means that don't be afraid to use your emotional wisdom to move forward your air capabilities, right? Because it's so easy for us all to kind of get into our little niches and say, well, this is how I deal with problems, right? But we all know that you also have deep emotional wisdom, not just, all the playful, rational, intellectual minded side. There's also a deep knowing that Librans have about connection and about deep connection, right? That you sometimes, I think, feel you need to put on the side. But the Princess of Cups here is saying that this is where some of the best material for that playful airiness is coming. A Princess of Cups brings beautiful gifts. She, in this deck, she is here guarding this beautiful cup or preferring this beautiful cup of love and wisdom, nourishment, and support. Right? She's the gift bringer in so many ways. And it is important to kind of gently open yourself up to all of that. And here's the other thing that I didn't mention so much with the astrology, but it's important as we are adjusting in January. Yes, we have the big outer planets doing their thing, but we also have Mars moving into Taurus and Uranus going direct in Taurus. Now, this is important for you because Taurus is your 8th transformational house. So Mars and Uranus, they're revolutionizers. They want to get things moving. If these two are working, as they are, in the 8th house energy, they give you blessings, they give you insights from the parts of yourself that are hidden, that are sometimes considered taboo or unacceptable, and from the parts of yourself that maybe you feel uncomfortable using as a guiding light. So when maybe you're feeling like you need to be externally showing that you're in this new era and that things are moving and that you're doing things and that it's in support of you and that's how you're going to feel like you're on the right track, kind of practice flipping that around and saying, okay, that's not actually where I'm going to know. And notice what's going on that really subtle level that often doesn't immediately translate to external success, but always eventually does, and it's always a precursor to what's going to happen externally, right? So just keep that in mind, because you may find that you're really antsy in January to already have it all laid out. Just wait till February, March, my friends, because it's going to get really interesting for all of us as this forward motion energy picks up speed. We just need to take January here to take a moment to collect ourselves. Now, the energy here is really supportive of you. If you are willing to take a moment to be with that 8th house energy and to be with your heart space as well, right? 5th house energy is all about your heart chakra and that tender, beautiful, creative side of yourself. So slightly more vulnerable pieces of yourself are being asked to step to the table to be your leader and your guide in the coming months. But I feel like that's just like my jam. So maybe I'm way too much of an advocate of working from behind the scenes, but I think it's such great, beautiful, warm, inviting energy here that helps you kind of parse through, work through the grains in your silo and throw out any pieces of gravel so that you can cook up a beautiful meal for yourself. Okay, so I have a little New Year blessing for Librans to take with you this first month of 2021 as we take our time easing into the year in kindness and grace. I think it's important in January to understand that the magic of January, the heart of a season, is in the grace and the softness. So here's the New Year blessing. May the illumination of your path be playful and curious. May you feel courageous in choosing that path. May creativity and listening to the little nudges all around you give you everything you need. It is in the little details, it is in the little nudgings that you will find this blossoming happening for you. January is full to the brim of magic. It is a very specific kind of magic that isn't quite so on the nose as the energy that we were seeing in December. So, at least for the moment. So it's going to take a little practice to get into flow with it and to understand it. So keep that in mind. You can find me talking about all of this in more depth and offering activations and support and worksheets and everything, and even resources from December during the eclipses and the adjustments that you can go back and enjoy. So if you're looking for all of the support, that's over on Patreon. I love the community we have built there. It's so beautiful. You can also find me on my website and on my Instagram. So I'll leave all of those in the description box. And you can also find PinkLune's gorgeous jewelry on her Etsy shop. She's always got something different, unique pieces you'll never see again. So I'll leave her Etsy shop below. I will talk to you all for the next moon and for February readings. So have a beautiful and luminous beginning to 2021.